Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lean Publishing tip of the day, where I'm going to be talking to you about our visual editor. I'm very excited to show this off. As usual, if you're watching this, you're probably watching the recording, not the live stream. So please skip ahead to the 2 minute mark where we start doing the tip of the day properly. Until then, we just do a little bit of housekeeping and we give, the sort of few people that happen to see this go live, jump in on the live stream if they've got some time available. As usual, there is a blog post accompanying this tip of the day. You can find it on our blog at leanpub.com/blog. If you don't see, as I always say, if you don't see the article there, then you can just click the little magnifying glass and go find it using the keywords. In this case, you just type in visual editor or something like that. These articles are really useful for helpful links and stuff like that. If you want to go back after the video is published on our YouTube channel, you'll actually see the video at the top of this webpage, so you can watch it right there from the blog. Of course, we recommend and ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all these tip of the day videos. And you can find lots of other great videos as well, including our book launch videos and course launch videos and podcast videos. I love talking to authors. So if you're a Leanpub author or you're an aspiring Leanpub author and you've published a book recently on Leanpub, please apply for a launch video. You should see the button to apply when you publish your book for the first time. And you should also see little places around the what we call the author app, where you can apply for the video as well, to record a launch video with me as well. Yeah, if you have any questions, we have a help center with over 1,000 articles, I think, in it, that you can search for instant answers to all of your questions about Leanpub and about self-publishing and book marketing and things like that. And of course, if you can't find what you're looking for in the help center, please reach out to our team at hello@leanpub.com. So with that said, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 2 minute mark of this Lean Publishing tip of the day, where I'm going to be talking about our visual editor writing mode. I'm very excited to be talking about this. We're making a lot of progress on it. In the background, if you've been creating Leanpub books, you might have noticed that the visual editor is relatively new, and it's now the default book creation book writing tool. Basically, when you go to create a book on Leanpub, you can choose from a number of writing modes, and the visual editor is the default one now. Like I said, it's changing all the time, and it actually has a bunch of features that I haven't actually used yet. They're so new. So what I'm looking forward to doing in this tip of the day is actually just kind of doing it live, and seeing what it looks like and seeing if we can find any bugs or anything like that. But anyway, this is meant to be a brief introduction to show you how easy it is to create a book on Leanpub in our free visual editor writing mode, and then how you can create a preview of it and stuff like that. So it's very exciting. It's going to be changing. We're going to be adding new features and stuff like that and improving the design. But here we go. If you go to the Leanpub webpage at leanpub.com, assuming you've already created an account. If you hadn't, you can create one during this process, but click the avatar thing on the top right. Let me just show that to you again. Click on the top right, scroll down and not too far, and you'll see this create a book option. I'll just call this demo. I'm giving the book a title. You can change this title, book A. You can change this title anytime. What I would actually recommend is when you create your first book on Leanpub, just treat it as an experiment, treat it as a play around thing, a scratch pad, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to publish it or anything like that. You don't have to worry about it. You can create more books on Leanpub. So just create your first book and go ahead and play with it. You do it stress-free. You don't need to worry. You can, close the book later. So it's like, you don't see it in your UI and stuff like that. So anyway, when you create your book, it's easy to go to the leanpub.com homepage, create the book by clicking on the menu on the top right and finding the option. And all you need to do is put in a title. You'll see that the book URL is automatically selected for you. You can change that as well. The reason this exists is that your book's going to have a web page on Leanpub. You get a free web page right away with a sign-up form when you create a book, where people can go and you can direct your friends and family and colleagues and what have you, and they can sign up to be notified when the book is published. You get a free sign-up form for your book launch, which is pretty amazing thing. But you also get these writing modes that you can choose from. I'm on a pro account, so I see the GitHub and Dropbox options as well. We have those writing modes, but the default writing mode is now our visual editor, which we're very excited about. And there's a little explanation about it underneath, that you can write your book in our web browser using our simple visual editor. So I already have an account. All I need to do is click next. If you don't have an account, easy kind of same kind of form you filled out a million times online. Um, so as soon as you click create a book, you're in the book editor. You're in a real live working book manuscript. And you can actually see this progress bar at the top. We're creating an ebook for you to look at from this manuscript that you're looking at right now. So you can see exactly how it works, or what it's going to look like. And here, what you're looking at is basically the first chapter. If you're familiar with, book writing tools, I won't name any of them, but the familiar ones that sort of word processing kind of applications and stuff like that. You'll probably be familiar with a lot of the conventions here. For example, obviously, the little B here is how to make your text bold. The little I is italic. The U is underline. We've got a strike through. We've got a little option here, which basically makes it kind of like this is the kind of thing you would do if you had code samples and stuff like that in your book. If you're using like kind of websites and stuff, doing this kind of thing is a little bit more common than it used to be. It basically like it sets out some text that you actually might want to copy and paste and use elsewhere, which is kind of interesting. We also support emojis, of course. So you have that right there. We support math, so you can add math. Don't worry about this. If it's not your thing, you can just not do it. But we support math right there in the browser. You click the little calculator. You can also create. Let me see if this works. Oh, no, that doesn't appear to be working. This is probably meant to create. Oh, there we go. This is an index entry. So this is very cool. It's sort of interesting that we've, sort of highlighted it right at the top there, but index entries are really important, and you can basically just select something, and then it'll create an index entry in the index for your book for it. There's also sub entries. This gets a little, C and C also and stuff like that. If you're familiar with book indexes, you'll know what this is. If you're not, you can probably just ignore it for now, but that's how you create an index entry. And let's see if that works. No, it's deleting it for some reason. So there might be a bug there that we need to fix. But in any case, that's how index entries work. Oh, okay. You just click out if you've created an index entry and it's formatted red so that you can see that it is an index entry. Again, this is a kind of like super powerful thing. Leanpub authors write a lot of nonfiction books, which is why we would highlight something like creating an index entry as a feature like that. And of course, you have the little chain where you can add a URL to your little selected text so that people can click on it and go to a web page from the ebook. Or you can actually add a cross link. This is a little bit complicated, but basically you can use this to create cross links in your book so that basically people can click like if I were selecting some text here, like I am, instead of instead of going to a URL, they would actually go to another part of the book. And we're going to probably have to do a separate Help Center article about how this works in the visual editor, and maybe make a video just about crosslinks as well. Not everybody uses them. They're obviously not going to be used too much unless you're sort of very creative in fiction. You're not going to be using crosslinks. But in nonfiction books, it can be really helpful to be able to click from one thing. If you could say like in this chapter, we're going to be introducing you to such and such. If you already know this, click here to go to chapter 2. That's the kind of reason you would use a cross link. And you can just obviously, in the writing editor, you can just type, you can just change this to chapter 1. What you can see here is this is actually kind of important that this is a chapter heading. So you can change that to introduce that this is a part of a book. So these are all kind of book type things. You can change it to a bulleted list, number list, a quote. Let's try out the quote thing. So currently this is formatted as a normal paragraph, as you can see there. But let's turn it into a quote. So it sets it off to the side a little bit and gives it this little gray bar, which is very cool. One thing that you can do in the visual editor is you can insert things. So there's a long list there, but you can insert, but it's sort of helpfully spelled out in language rather than with icons. You can, if you're writing a programming book or there's some programming code in your book, you can introduce a code block. You can actually upload an image relatively easily. You can upload a certain kind of diagram called a mermaid diagram. If you don't know what that is, ignore it. If you do know what that is, you're probably going to be pretty excited that we offer that. There's also things like complex things like smart cross links. There's an article on our help center about those equations, YouTube video. There's something called a Markua directive, which is kind of complicated. If you're using the visual editor, you probably won't be doing this too much. But if you do know what our plain text markup is for producing books from plain text manuscripts, you'll know what Markua directives are. But you know the ordinary things like add a footnote, add an endnote, add a scene break, add a page break. The page break means that in the PDF, obviously, you'll add a page break there. And when people get to that where it is, then they'll have to go to a new page. So you can insert all kinds of cool stuff easily right there from within the visual editor, which is just amazing. I actually don't even know what this is. Though that's a copy, I bet. So that's a very helpful copy button, I imagine is what that is. But I'll actually have to ask the team because I'm not sure. Then you have all kinds of document settings and stuff like that, where you can choose the language that your book is written in. You can choose, you know, is there a sample by default, sample book, things like that. So there's a lot of interesting things here to play around with in the document settings. Obviously, if you're familiar with Leanpub, you'll know that you have a book theme page elsewhere as well, which is very helpful. The little ghost here is our Ghost AI skill, which is very, very interesting kind of thing that we've developed to help authors write, particularly nonfiction books. But what you can do is it basically acts like someone who's talking to you, asking you questions like, what would you want to write your book about? How do you want to structure your book, et cetera? And it can help kind of set up your book kind of structure for you, things like that. It can help you with research. You know, if you've got kind of files and stuff like that that you've done research with, you can kind of hook it up to our AI so that it can use all the research files that you've collected to do things. This is a visual editor kind of introduction, so I'm not going to go too much into Ghost AI. We've talked about it elsewhere, and we'll talk about it more in the future. But if you scroll down here, you can see, you know, all the kind of formatting things that I've already gone through are kind of their examples of them here. You can see how you can make subheadings. So here's a section heading. You can make it a subsection heading if you wanted, all this kind of stuff. Most people will probably be familiar with that. Now, we've for this so far in this little introduction, I've stayed in the first chapter, but you might see this little folder icon on the top left here. If you see that, I'd recommend clicking on that. And here you'll actually see that there are a number of kind of book chapters. They're in this order. So if I click on lists, then I go to the lists chapter. So this folder up here is basically where all your files are and the order that they're in. The book files are the files that are going to be in your book. So when you create your book, preview or publish it, and when you create your ebook files, it'll go through our book generators, or happy little book generators will go through these files in this order. We're going to probably be changing how we deal with this, but for now, you can choose to include or exclude files. We had a lot of authors ask us, we had some authors ask us for that. You can also edit the name of the file if you want. This won't change the name in the manuscript. It'll just change the name as it's displayed for you here. So you can do that, or you can delete the file as well. So we show you in this lists thing, we show you how to do lists. In the book resources, we show you various things like tables, how to create code blocks. For a lot of authors, this will be like not useful because you won't be doing any of this stuff, particularly if you're writing a novel or something like that. But for nonfiction authors, we have a very comprehensive suite of all the things basically that you're going to want to use if you're writing a nonfiction book. We talk about how to do indexes, cross references, stuff like that. So maybe we don't need the Help Center article I was talking about anymore at all. There's also various we call them editor resources. I think we're going to be changing this name, but this is where your images are and stuff like that. And then we have a helpful book contents kind of outline thing here. So this is very helpful for kind of going or managing, like looking at your book structure in a little preview kind of thing here. And of course, you can get into your, go to the preview page for your book if you go here. And that's where you can download the PDF preview. You can generate new ones, stuff like that. And if you want to get back to the editor, just click right. And that should take you back to the editor. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video. I'm going to end quickly because we try and keep them under 15 minutes, but that's our visual editor. Give it a look and subscribe on YouTube.